Good for you.
Thanks.
It's awesome.
Well, I hope you find lots of support, because there you are, you're doing it, and it's time to be supported. So thanks for calling in. Hello? Okay, thanks for calling in. Wow. So we've really gone around the ages there in people calling in. Here I was wondering, well, now I suppose I should be saying, is there anybody out there who's 50 and is having a baby? That's pretty old, you know. I used to joke with people that we're having a kid every 10 years, but now that I'm 50, I don't make that joke anymore. So
I was wondering if Stephanie could share about, a lot of people say that they're not hypnobirthing or self-hypnosis, but we talk often about women going into what's called perhaps labor land.
labor land.
Turns out she tunes out her environment, and it's just herself and her baby. And I don't think that a lot of people realize that they're in hypnosis at that point. Would you talk about how different things, like even driving down the road and zoning out?
Yeah, I guess most people don't realize that all of us go into hypnosis. I think it's about 7 times a day. So what Tammi was talking about, something that we've all experienced, driving home from work, didn't really think about it, just got home and said to ourselves, wow, how did I do that? I just didn't pay attention to my route, and here we are. So we get lost in our thoughts.
We're not talking about the time you spend on the cell phone.
No, not even on the cell phone.
Right,
Just you're driving down.
No, I'm just making a joke. It's not like you're right.
Yeah, lost in your thoughts, and that's called highway hypnosis. It's a real phenomenon where you are in a state of hypnosis.
I imagine that could be a little dangerous too, though.
It's not dangerous because we know, as we all know, we've done it. We respond appropriately.
We're conscious.
Yeah, and so we do that when we're reading books, watching TV, on the internet. If you're engrossed in something and someone comes over and asks you a question, you may not hear them.
Stephanie, you deal with people with addiction issues some?
Yes, some.
Is addiction, in a way, a person trying to chemically self-hypnose?
Yes. Trying to...
bring on that state chemically?
Right, trying to kind of... I can't think of the word right now, but...
You've been on the air for a long time, you know.
I should have had more coffee before we started this, but...
Self-hypnosed.
So just really get away from their pain, yeah. So, but...
Do you use hypnosis to give them another route than chemicals?
Yes. I do hypnosis for addictions.
How successful is that?
That's pretty successful when the person is determined. We've heard about smoking cessation through hypnosis, or even weight loss because food.
Is this the kind of hypnosis they're talking about?
Yeah.
You see, I'm under the impression, I'm totally doped by the TV idea of hypnosis. If there's a guy that'll watch you who will take you to an unconscious level where suggestions can be made to you and you will take them. That doesn't seem to have anything to do with what you're talking about. And remember, they can't see you shaking your head, Tammi.
Not at all. You can release that.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tammi brought up a good point that these women in labor who are doing self-hypnosis techniques don't even call it that or realize it, but...
Just like with my wife, as I was describing herself, somebody like in the big putty tat.
Exactly. And so we all go into hypnosis several times a day. It's just a different brainwave activity. It's a slowing down the brainwaves where we're kind of tuning out everything. Maybe we're daydreaming, lost in our thoughts. But during labor, it's done in order to cope, and it may be these women are doing it on an unconscious level where they're not doing it on purpose. It's a natural response to dealing with labor.
Because as I was reading your site and everything like that, you were saying that all of this stuff is something that everybody has the ability to do, that they just need to be aware of it and to be taught about it.
Absolutely.
Right.
mean, which almost you could say is the whole heading over birth. That it's something that everybody who is a female can do. If they, I mean, because that's really what we've been talking about, and summing up is making people self-aware that there is a way that they can give birth, that they could do it at home most likely. That, I mean, this is basically what you're saying. If you're going to sum it up yourselves, don't let me sum it up. How would you sum it up?
No, absolutely. Have it right on, and it's good for somebody outside of our world of what's so normal to sum it up so clearly.
Because I mean, I'm really, I have my headphones on, so I can't slap myself in the head without having bad results or hitting my mic. But there just been several times. I mean, I would have loved to have had my son, in retrospect, have my son come into the room during the birth. I mean, I had him there a lot as it was, you know, and I mean, and I think back, you know, we had our kid induced because he was going to be too heavy. We used some drugs to make sure the lungs were improved. I mean, it really does, it just sounds like, to a certain degree, it sounds like we have the same attitude towards birth that we do towards baby formula. It's better because we make it. It's more convenient. We can schedule it. You know, why nurse when you can just pull a bottle out of the refrigerator? Why do natural birth when you can pick your date and your time and, you know, have a doctor and a modern medical staff there, and you won't have to make any effort because you just show up, you know, and we've kind of told you this is what happens using the mechanics. We'll stick a needle in your back and you'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah, that mentality is out there, and those women are choosing that, and it's just great that you're doing this show to let women who are contemplating their choices.
And I'm certainly not, and I don't think either of you are saying, oh, don't do that. You're saying, know that you have your options, and that that's not necessarily what you have to do. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, that woman who called up and was talking about, you know, she used hypnosis, but in the end she needed the painkillers and everything like that, not to mention the blood pressure. I mean, there is a place for the medical, for medicine to intervene in all of this.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And there's no shame in this either.
Not at all.
But maybe that's not the square you want to start off. And I think it's fantastic how many people we've talked about, you know, I mean, you had a cesarean and then you had a natural birth. I think there was a time where they said, well, if you had a cesarean, that's it. Your poor little wall's been damaged. You can't use that anymore or rip open. Which, you know, I just think of the other thing that they do is it's the snipping to get you ready.
Episiotomy.
The episiotomy.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're just squinching your eyes at the thought of that.
Female. That hurts just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Not natural. So it's an intervention that's unnecessary.
But it's a classic modern medicine way of holding things. You're going to rip, and we're just going to make you rip naturally and heal faster by doing this.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite. A natural tear is much healthier and heals much better than an episiotomy. And that's pretty much hopefully leaving the birthing world, episiotomies.
So what I'm going to have to do at some point is get some male obstetricians in here if they can find the time.
Yeah.
And have them come in, and then we'll have you guys call up on the phone or be here. We'll invite you either way. Well, it'll be interesting to see where they are, because, you know, one of my most interesting experiences in awakening to all this was getting a sonogram where the nurse put some jelly on my wife's stomach and went over, and I'm not a doctor, but the pictures looked fine to me. There was the kids sort of floating around playing tennis, and then the doctor came in, and he scraped that thing back and forth over my wife's stomach, really disturbing her. And the other woman I knew who used them said they had the same thing. I never wrote a letter to him, but I immediately said to myself, you know, it is not a coincidence that men, I like to think I could be very sensitive and interactive and understand this, but I think it's not a coincidence that it was the male doctor who was less in touch with the feelings and more into the, I'm going to use your body as I need to use your body.
Right.
I mean, I think back to this is only, I guess this was only 20 years ago. My son's 19 now. And I'm sure it's still going on.
It reminds me of my experience. So I started out going to an OB when I was pregnant, and the male doctor, it doesn't matter male, female, it's just the fact that I was going to an obstetrician at this medical complex, and they would come into the room and go to the computer and ask their questions that they had to ask at each appointment, facing the computer back to me,
Right.
asking the questions, typing in the answers, and that was the appointment, and it lasted 5 minutes. And